Welcome to this Broadcom video on the integration of IWSz and AAI. In this video, we show how to create our first instance. In this video, we create a new instance. The software has been installed. An instance is needed for the data to be extracted from IWSz and delivered to the connector and ultimately to AAI. We'll configure the instance in another video. In this video, we explore the A option for add. The end result will be an empty shell with basic settings, the IWSz subsystem, the AAI instance ID, and a color theme. We'll show the system elements added to ZOS and USS. Additional items will also be added to CusLib, and we'll explain what they do. Finally, we'll show how to start an instance. The process is fairly simple but has multiple parts that we outline. IWSz is started, we use option A. We select an available slot. Normally, when starting IWSz for the first time, no instance is defined. IWSz will automatically start the add instance function to define the first instance. The A option is therefore only used when defining more instances within the same IWSz. We're now in the first screen of the add option for the baseline settings of our instance. We're not configuring yet, that will come later. We enter the IWSz subsystem. The software populates the LPAR automatically in its reserved field, although we'll be able to customize this later. Then we add the AAI system ID. This is the 3-character ID we set in the wizard during the installation of AAI. IWSz subsystem and AAI ID define the naming convention of the instance members. We can change the menu slot. We name our software instance, and this is your decision, although we recommend establishing a naming convention early on, so as to maintain consistency throughout the system. We can set a color theme for our environment, for the instance name, the LPAR, and so forth. We press Enter to continue. We have to allocate the instance datasets. They require an HLQ. The default option lets you enter a high-level HLQ and the software appends the rest. When the instance's datasets are created in ZOS, the default naming convention of the HLQ uses the following. First, a fixed value, AIST dot, then the AAI instance ID, then the last character of the IWSz subsystem, then LPAR dot, and finally the dataset name. AAI server ID name and IWSz subsystem were entered in the previous screen. Then we have the ZOS system settings, management class, storage class, data class, volume serial, and so forth. We have to set the name of the ZFS volume that will host the data files prior to transmission to AAI. Use override DSN to define an alternative name if site standards require vSAM clusters specific HLQ. If you leave it blank, the default ZFS volume name is shown in yellow. If you override, you specify DNS and space. We also allocate the space based on the size of the IWSz system and volume of data we're expecting to acquire. We're not going to expand on these fields, but sizing is an important topic that should be carefully reviewed in the documentation. We press Enter to continue. The datasets are created. This is reflected in ZOS. We now have these new datasets. Let's describe the important ones. SRVR SCFG stores instance configurations, as in the information pertaining to the instance. Since we haven't configured, it's currently empty. SRVR SREC stores requests issued from the ISPF IMS system or the request STC. The requests are 4-character codes, say term or ADEF. SRVR SREC also contains the state of the primary STC, say active, shutdown, or busy. This makes it possible for the ISPF IMS system and the request STC to know whether they can issue requests to the server STC in the first place. Our CusLib library has been appended with items dedicated to the management of the instance. The important ones are as follows. A control member called AIST-IMCF, which has specific information about each instance. A JCL named AITS followed by 4 characters based on the AAI ID and IWSz subsystem, which starts the server STC, and AITR, which starts the request STC. It also have CPOP, followed by the same 4 characters based on the IWSz subsystem and AAI ID. This initiates the current plan file delivery. Let's discuss the startup procedure. Up until this point, we've been discussing the server STC, the information sourced in ZOS, and the processes that run in USS. The instance start procedure uses elements from both. This is an LPAR with 2 IWSz subsystems, IWS1 and IWS2. We have 2 software instances and AAI servers, each with an ID as well, 1, 2, 3, and XYZ. We've already described what these IDs are. When a software instance is installed, new JCLs are added to custlib for the management of that instance. AITS, which is the server STC, and AITR, which is the request STC, whose purpose is to submit commands to SRVR srec, followed by 4 characters. Their naming is automated. The instance procedure is a JCL called AITS, followed by 4 characters, the 3-character AAI instance ID, and the last character of the IWSz subsystem name. As a result, the first JCL is called AITS1231, while the second AITS XYZ2. To start the instance, we simply execute this JCL. It invokes BPX batch and starts the USS environment. It also passes a Unix executable, AIST SRVR, which is the server STC code. The instance starts. This is the custlib member where the execution JCL can be found. It must be copied to a system procedure library. This is the default generated name for the server STC based on the instance code XXXY, which you should specify to automation so it starts automatically. The important section is this statement. It describes the execution of the PGM BPX batch, invoking the AIST SRVR execution module passed as the parameter. Thank you. This concludes the video.